Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Fighting to stay in Canada.
Right now, I'm under stress.
International students allegedly scammed by foreign consultants plead for help from Ottawa as they face deportation. Plus, big cleanup.
At this point, we expect the highway to be fully closed for at least another week.
A stretch of Highway 4 on Vancouver Island closed by a wildfire will stay shut for some time. And goodbye, Nordstrom.
So I opened the store and now I'm closing.
It's like a cemetery. really weird, yeah.
The massive luxury retailer in downtown Vancouver shuts its store. What might replace it?
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Anita is away this week. More than 150 international students across Canada now face deportation. They fell victim to an alleged scam by foreign consultants who promised a pathway to an education and a future in this country. Among those very worried is a student in BC. Joel Ballard has his story.
Balbir Singh's dream was clear: move to Canada, earn an education, and build a better life. But now, that dream could be shattered.
Right now, I'm under stress.
In India, Singh and his family paid tens of thousands of dollars to recruiters to get a student visa and an acceptance letter to a Canadian college, unaware it was an alleged scam. After completing his education, Singh applied for permanent residency, only to be told by the Canadian Border Services Agency that his original school acceptance letter was fake.
So I was shocked, like, how this thing can happen. How I can got my visa approved, how I can got my work permit approved. I was completely shocked. I was totally numb. I can't even say a word at that time.
Now, Singh has been deemed inadmissible in Canada for misrepresentation. His case under judicial review. In Ontario, international students facing the same scam have been holding an ongoing protest, supported by advocacy groups.
Many of these students have spent more than half a decade of their lives here. They're in their early 20s, their friends are here, their loved ones are here, and because they are facing unfair punishment and these unjust deportations, all of that can be taken away.
A petition calling on the federal government to stop deportations has collected thousands of signatures. Their plight garnering support from inside the walls of Parliament.
We need to actually do everything we can for the genuine victims of this fraud scam, for them to be made whole.
Kwan recently moved a pair of motions calling for deportations to be stayed, inadmissibility to be waived, and to work with the students towards permanent residency. Canada's Minister of Immigration said this week he's working to develop a process to ensure victims of fraud can stay in Canada.
However, to the extent that people committed fraud or were complicit in a fraudulent scheme, they will bear the consequences of choosing not to follow Canada's laws.
Back in Delta, Singh has a plea of his own.
Just try to find the intention of these students. If you find that any student whose intention is wrong, I'm gonna say just send him back. But if student came here with the intention of study and he have done that, please give a justice to them.
Joel Ballard, CBC News, Delta.
A downtown Vancouver urgent and primary healthcare clinic is suspending some services, all because of a legal battle with the BC government. Tanya Fletcher joins us now with more. Tanya, how did this all happen?
Yeah, so Dan, Seymour Health is a private company hired to run a couple of BC's urgent and primary care centers. City Centre Clinic downtown was always promised as a location to do diagnostic testing like x-rays and ultrasounds. Well, we can tell you that those at Seymour Health say when they started, they were told they would be able to pay for those services by billing MSP. But they never got approved for the necessary licenses to be able to send those bills to MSP, so they've been paying out of pocket millions of dollars. City Centre Clinic has now stopped doing those diagnostic tests because of the legalities around this, and one of the head doctors there says many patients would come to them with urgent conditions like blood clots, appendicitis, pregnancy complications, and now
we're not able to do it, and we have to send people elsewhere. So unfortunately, when our patients are coming to us at their most distressed state, we're having to tell them that they can't go and get the test done right now, even though we have the facilities down the hall. We have to send them elsewhere. So it's heartbreaking for us.
Tanya, we have heard from Vancouver Coastal Health. What is the health authority's response?
Yeah, so Vancouver Coastal Health says it does not have a role in this MSP billing issue. That's between the clinic and the province alone. But VCH says Seymour Health's financial problems go way beyond this billing dispute, dating back 4 years even. So VCH says an external audit last fall found that Seymour Health could not continue running this clinic. So VCH is now going to court to try to take it over.
We took the steps that we have taken to make sure that we can keep the urgent primary care center and the primary care clinic for those 70,000 patients open, and they can have continuous service. We want to make sure that those services do continue, which is why we are taking the court action that we felt was necessary.
Now, he mentions VCH does plan to keep the diagnostics open if the health authority does, in fact, take over that clinic, but he didn't provide specifics around funding. We should also say we did contact the Ministry of Health for comment, but have not heard back. Dan?
Tanya Fletcher reporting. Thanks very much. The BC government says it's clearing a controversial homeless camp in Abbotsford to make way for supportive housing. But as the CBC Zara Premji shows us, some people who live there say they're not going anywhere.
Well, it's a good idea. It's not for me.
79-year-old Paul Shearer has lived at Lonzo Park and Ride for the last 4 to 5 months. He's one of about 15 people still left in the community. At least 100 people used to call it home. And while he commends the province for building more housing, he says he isn't willing to part ways with his RV.
This is my home. You know, I don't want to lose it. You know, I'm not going to give it away. You know, I'm comfortable, sort of.
And he can't see himself going into government housing again.
It's like a cell. It's like jail.
The province says anyone still living at Lonzo Park and Ride off Sumas Way in tents and RVs will be moved to safe indoor spaces, all while a new temporary 50-bed shelter will be built on the encampment site. But everyone needs to leave in order for construction to start.
If you do not leave the land and remove your personal property by June 26, 2023, you will be trespassing, which is an offense under the Trespass Act.
Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon says the new temporary shelter is expected to be ready by late fall.
We will have 24-hour support services there, meals, wellness supports, health-related supports.
It will be open for up to 18 months before a new permanent location is chosen. Advocates say such moves are hard on vulnerable people.
To me, it's just a game. To me, it just seems like a game, an endless game, because you're playing with the lives of real humans.
And he adds whatever housing is built has taken far too long.
We know we need housing. Just build housing, right? Like, why is this a constant discussion?
The province says it knows this housing will not solve the problem for those without permanent homes in Abbotsford, but it hopes it's a start. Zara Premji, CBC News, Abbotsford.
BC's Transportation Minister warns it will take at least another week before Highway 4 will reopen to even single-lane traffic. It's the only highway that serves western communities on Vancouver Island, including Port Alberni and Tofino. And as Mira Baines reports, a full reopening is not set until mid-July.
The Cameron Bluffs wildfire continues to burn as highway crews assess damage from falling rocks and trees. Firefighting crews continue to work on the 2.5 square kilometer fire, dumping water from the lake.
It looked like lava coming down the mountain. Very scary. Then lots of action here.
The fire is adjacent to Highway 4, which has been closed for about a week, the only paved route in and out of many Western Island communities, including Tofino, Ucluelet, and Port Alberni. BC's Highways and Infrastructure Minister today provided some degree of certainty on when Highway 4 could reopen.
We expect the highway to be fully closed for at least another week. This is necessary to allow crews to remove dangerous trees and other hazards, to make any road repairs necessary, and to set up protective barriers that may be required to keep people safe when the road is reopened.
Highway 4 was closed after an accident along the route and poor conditions. The ministry's tentative timeline shows Highway 4 opening to single-lane alternating traffic the weekend of June 24th. A full reopening isn't expected until mid-July. The ministry says the timeline will be dependent on weather conditions such as rain and slope stability. When the road does reopen, traffic is expected to move slowly.
I don't expect those are going to be as long as taking the alternate route, but I do want to warn motorists that there will be some delays as we move towards this phased reopening.
So far, supplies are getting through an essential detour route, but businesses are suffering.
We just fully staffed up for the summer, and now I'm kind of having to cut back on hours and kind of play it by day.
Concerns are growing over lack of tourism, which is a key economic driver for Tofino and nearby communities.
A lot of seasonal staff are not eligible for EI, so if this continues for a lot longer, I really do have great concerns around some of the frontline staff here in Tofino.
Fleming says the province has reached out to the federal government to get help for financial relief for local businesses as the closure continues. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
To the northeastern part of our province now, where officials say despite rain and less wind, there are expanded evacuation alerts.
They will be around for several weeks. Smoke will be visible. There will be columns of smoke most likely visible from this fire as we move into the core summer months, and it continues to burn on that eastern flank. But we're in a much better place now than we were a couple days ago for sure.
The Wildfire Service says rain in the Tumbler Ridge area has slowed fire activity for now, but there's been no serious rainfall on the Donnie Creek blaze, which continues to burn out of control. This afternoon, the Peace River Regional District expanded an evacuation alert for that blaze. Both sides of the Alaska Highway are now under an alert or order along a 100-mile stretch. Officials say that fire, the province's largest right now, is about 2 kilometers from the highway at one point, which is north of Trutch, and traffic may be affected in the coming days. That route is popular with RVers heading to Alaska and is a vital transportation link in the north. You're urged to check Drive BC for any updates. Now, seniors at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School are worried about what will happen to their graduation ceremony given the current evacuation orders. Savannah Julik and her mother Roxanne spoke with Stephen Quinn on CBC Radio's The Early Edition this morning.
Fortunately, we have a lot of people who have family coming in from out of town, including me. I have a sister who came all the way from Scotland yesterday to see our grad, because our grad's supposed to be on Friday. So that's one of the big worries, is there's a bunch of people coming into town because they booked flights they can't cancel. Yeah.
And so everything is just on hold now, as far as you know. Is it at all possible that the evacuation order could be lifted and people could get back to town for Friday?
Well, even if we get back to town for Friday, our principal postponed our grad.
I understand your sister graduated in 2020, and of course you wouldn't have had a ceremony because of COVID. You were hoping that all of that was behind us, obviously.
A funny story, actually, because in grade 6, my older sister complained about not having a grade 6 graduation because of teacher strikes. But I didn't have one either because of floods.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, so then she didn't have a grade 12 graduation because of COVID. So I was pretty mad at her because I was like, no, I don't have one because of wildfires.
So floods, wildfires, and pandemics have kept everybody from graduation ceremonies in your family.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Savannah and her family evacuated to Fort St. John, but she says her classmates are scattered as far as Chetwynd, Dawson Creek, even Grand Prairie, Alberta. Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff joins us now with a forecast. Joe, what is the situation for people in and around Tumbler Ridge?
Yeah, as we've been hearing, we are getting some good rain, Dan, and that will continue through the overnight. It's not reaching as far as the Donnie Creek fire where we do need it, but let me show you what it looks like on the satellite and radar. It sure is nice to see that green, which is the rain falling right now as a cold front swings across the province. Now, it is bringing a lot of lightning strikes, and we do have various thunderstorm watches and warnings in place for the BC interior. So if you do see a thunderstorm approach, head indoors. We are seeing lots of lightning, heavy downpours, and large size hail. And we also have that wind warning for the west side of Vancouver Island. This is all associated with the cold front sweeping through. We were worried about some gusty winds tonight here in Metro Vancouver. We've started to see that shift coming in from the northwest, gusts out on the strait to 60 kilometers per hour right now. And we are seeing a few lightning strikes roll through places like Port Alberni. Not out of the question they could cross the strait. So an active evening. Look at the rainfall totals, though. Over the next couple of days, you can see some good dark green pockets around the South Peace region where the Tumbler Ridge fire is. That's the 20 to 40 millimeter rain. Getting some great bullseyes of rainfall through central and northern coastal sections. But Dan, just a few showers for us here in Metro Vancouver. We'll see some cooler weather, which is good news for everyone. Back to seasonal for us in Vancouver over the next couple days.
Okay. Thanks very much, Joe.
You're welcome.
It began with a stop at a Miami courthouse and ended with a photo session at a Cuban restaurant. Donald Trump today pleads not guilty to 37 federal charges. That story's next. And thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. In the past month alone, there has been a rash of pride-related hate crimes around BC that police are now looking into. In Nanaimo, the theme of this weekend's Pride Parade was Pride as Protest. Claire Palmer was there on Sunday.
And that's what people are doing today, is really showing that it's okay, because that's what pride means, is to show people it's okay.
People here today say pride is needed now more than ever.
Queer people, like queer and trans people, need to see themselves, needs representation so they can see themselves in other people, know that it's okay, they can live how they want to, like whatever makes them happy.
The mood is celebratory, but some pride societies are still feeling an undercurrent of hate. In Nanaimo, organizers had to work to come up with security plans to keep people safe.
It's not safe. It's not safe for us to exist. And so this Pride, we really wanted people to think more carefully about raising the rainbow flag and see it as more of a call to action than just a celebration, because we need to be creating safer spaces for LGBTQ2IA+ community members everywhere.
According to Stats Canada, there was a 64% increase in hate crimes in 2021 related to the community compared to the year before. It's something politicians are acutely aware of.
My responsibility as a community rep is to make sure everybody is safe and free to love who they love, to be able to express themselves how they want, and that's what this day is all about. We're shoulder to shoulder, standing up together.
Organizers are heartened to see the passion and positive responses to the festivities.
The volunteers hardly have any work because everyone's just contributing and coming together and supporting each other and working together. It's really beautiful to see.
Pride Month will continue for the rest of June. Celebrations will be happening across Canada through the summer, with Vancouver hosting Pride events in August. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Nanaimo.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back.
And that's what empowered nations and empowered people to just literally steal land.
This is a consequence of your actions.
And it's time to give land back.
Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Trump, we're out here. We're supporting you. Don't give up. No retreat, no surrender. Okay? We're here for you.
And happy pre-birthday!
The scene in Miami where Donald Trump made history this afternoon, becoming the first U.S. president to be arraigned on federal criminal charges. Trump pleaded not guilty, I should say, to 37 of them. Trump is accused of taking thousands of papers containing national security secrets and lying to officials who tried to get them back. And as Chris Reyes reports, the former president claims he did nothing wrong.
It was a morning of great anticipation here at the federal courthouse in Miami, where crowds arrived very early in the morning ahead of Trump's historic indictment. Have a listen to what they said.
It's nice to see a little justice done, a little bit delayed, but long overdue for a case of old 45 here.
Well, this whole thing should be thrown out because Trump did nothing wrong.
I'm here to support the legitimate president. This is third world banana republic tactics.
As scheduled, Trump arrived by motorcade just a little bit before his 3 p.m. arraignment. He entered the courthouse via an underground passage. The full security that's been in place in this area since over the weekend was on full display. He was traveling from his resort in Doral, Florida, which is about a 30-minute drive from here. He stayed there overnight, had dinner with his son, and also his aide, Walt Nauta, who is named in the indictment, also facing charges. Now, upon his arrival, Trump's spokesperson gave a statement outside the courthouse.
What is being done to the President Trump should terrify all citizens of this country. These are not the ideals that our democracy is founded upon. And this is not our America.
Once inside, Trump was booked and processed. No mugshot was taken. He faced a federal magistrate. This is the judicial officer in charge of pretrial proceedings. He entered a plea of not guilty to all 37 charges in connection to the alleged mishandling of classified documents after he left the White House in 2021. He was released on his own recognizance without bail or any restrictions. He then left the courthouse with a large crowd gathered outside cheering him on. He's headed to Bedminster, New Jersey tonight, where he's expected to make a public statement at a fundraiser. Chris Reyes, CBC News, Miami.
In Ukraine, 11 people have been killed and nearly 30 more hurt after a Russian missile attack destroyed an apartment building.
Just a short while ago, there were body bags beside the merry-go-round here in this playground.
It happened in the city of Kryvyi Rih in central Ukraine. It's the hometown of the country's president. Other residential buildings were also hit. Over the last 16 months, Russia has consistently denied targeting civilians. Nordstrom, no more. The luxury retailer closes its massive store in downtown Vancouver. So what's next? Stick around.
Well, it's convenient. It's nice to have a neighborhood theater to come to. The parking's no problem. They usually get pretty good movies, and I don't like going downtown to theaters.
Why?
Because I work down there, and I want to avoid it when I can.
Carol Martin has been coming to the Dunbar Theatre once a month for the past 15 years.
It seems that all the theaters now are getting to be these complexes, 6. And they're not comfortable seats. There's comfortable seats in here. We have a louder crowd downtown. You know, you've got the yahoos and you've got the ones throwing their popcorn. These are more civilized, I should say.
But Martin's movie habits are being changed by one of the 2 big movie giants in town. Cineplex Odeon is North America's second largest movie chain. It's shutting down the Dunbar, the Varsity on 10th Avenue, the Vogue, and the Odeon on Granville Mall. No one from Cineplex Odeon would talk to us on camera, but it seems that the old movie theaters just don't make economic sense anymore. The 4 big theaters that are closing seat a total of 2,500 people, but most of the time they're half empty. And there's still the electricity, the rent, and the heat to pay. So instead, the Odeon is opening up this multiplex that has 7 smaller theaters, seat the same number of people, and all under one roof.
Once you get to one theater, you only have to have one manager rather than have a manager at each satellite theater. So one concession area could serve all 7 theaters rather than having a separate concession stand in each one of the 4.
The new 7-plex on Granville Mall will be similar to the 10-screen Royal Centre that opened 3 years ago. Unlike others who don't like the new theaters, Sean Thomas comes to see a movie at the Royal Centre once a week.
Well, this offers variety. I can come and watch 10 movies. For a month, I can watch a different movie every time, rather than going to a big theater where I can just watch one. And then, once you've seen it once, I don't like to watch a movie again and again.
The multiplexes offer even more than the traditional popcorn and soft drink. The posh surroundings include a lounge area to sit in, special coffees, and an assortment of fresh desserts. Alan Baycroft says that adds to the multiplex's appeal.
There are 10 theaters. You have just about anything to choose from. You don't even have to look at the paper before you go. They have the espresso bar here and the really good desserts, and I find it really convenient.
Baycroft also says he likes the intimacy of the small theaters, and they appeal to those living downtown.
Instead of showing a film on a small screen in a small little room, I think that makes it harder to fight video rather than to show it on a big screen in a big auditorium and make a big production out of it.
Well, yeah, it is like being at home almost. You almost want to get a video instead, but everything isn't out on video.
Nevertheless, Cineplex Odeon is sinking a lot of money into this new theater. It must be betting that the choice of 7 different movies in one location will be enough to convince moviegoers to drive downtown.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
The 15th annual Latincouver Festival kicks off this July, and CBC Vancouver is proud to be the exclusive media partner. Enjoy a series of sensational Latin American experiences and the popular Carnaval del Sol Festival. And CBC British Columbia launches the Herb Original, a new podcast for Indigenous History Month. All episodes are available now on CBC Listen.
Less than a decade after it first opened its doors, Nordstrom's massive store in downtown Vancouver is set to close for good tonight. The U.S. retailer announced the shutdown in March. The CBC's Benit Brach has more from staff and shoppers.
These Nordstrom doors are closing for good, and we wanted to talk to shoppers and workers one last time.
I'll miss it, definitely. It was such a bright jewel to the downtown core when it opened. I was the number 3 person in the lineup the morning the store opened back in 2015. Last week they had a lot of shoes on sale for 90% off, and that was a good buy.
Bought some that week?
I did, yes.
How many pairs?
About 8 pairs. It was around $3,600 worth of shoes for $360.
I opened the store and now I'm closing. Gonna miss it. Gonna miss everything about this company, especially what we built here.
Yeah.
When I heard that they were closing, my phone started blowing off, and it was my customers, because I built a long clientele here, all my colleagues, and just very sad.
And we all found out at once, like same time as the public. So again, it was hard. We are such a tight-knit group. It's like more working with friends than coworkers.
It's very sad, very empty. I'm wondering what's going to go in there next. It's kind of going to be lifeless here for a little bit until something happens.
It's like a cemetery. really, really weird, yeah.
What would you want to see replace the space?
I think it's going to be impossible, but I would love to see a Target,
I hope maybe Simon's comes.
Another department store.
All that's really left is furniture, like this chair, no more clothes. I just see people kind of buying their last minute things. Vancouver Councillor Peter Meisner says there's been some rumors of an urban IKEA, an Eataly, which is like a high-end Italian food store, but nothing has been confirmed yet. But with 230,000 square feet of space, whatever comes next has big shoes to fill. Benit Brach, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast online at cbc.ca/BC. Tanya Fletcher will have your late local news right after the Stanley Cup Final and the National tonight. Take care.